What is going on, you guys? My name is Rage, and we're back today with Marvel Strike Force's newest character, being Kate Bishop, joining and rounding out the Young Avengers team here. As you guys can see, with her being on the team now, her main strengths will be focusing on war defense, really empowering the Young Avenger allies, removing positive effects from the enemies. And additionally, she's going to have a very strong ultimate ability that actually applies blind and negative conditions. So with the new war defense being with the Young Avengers, they're going to be an really powerful juggernaut team to get through, especially now with them rounding out the rest of war. So you bet we're going to take advantage of the 15% increase to the Red Star Orbs here. So we're going to take a look at that today. For me, I don't actually focus too much on war, especially if it's war defense. So if you guys aren't too heavily, I would not recommend in opening too many of this, because there's going to be a lot more characters coming out this year. But you know, standard with my videos, as always, I always like to aim for a 2 or 3 red. That way we can mitigate the number of silver promotions used to upgrade these characters. But again, like I said, if your focus is not in war, I would just open up a few more just to get that 2 or 3 red and then park it for now, because a lot of characters are coming out and we need to take advantage of storing up these red stars. So that being said, when you hit the eye here, just always want to make sure before you start opening them up that the 15% is actually in effect. So I like to look at the bottom here, scroll to the very bottom, and there we go. You do see Kate Bishop having that increase in 15%. So we are good to go here for start through the opening of these orbs. So here we guys go. 68 here. I generally like to budget about 5 to 10 when I'm starting out. And again, I aim for a 2 or 3 red. So we already got it right there from the get-go, but you know what, just because with the RNG today, let's open up a few more and see if we can get lucky with a 3. But always maintain a budget, because you never want to overdo it, especially when you know right around the corner there potentially is going to be a new legendary coming into the game. And with new legendaries, there's always going to likely be a set of characters that are part of that release. So that's always the key thing to be mindful of. So we opened a few there and only ended up right now with 2. We'll open a couple more up just to keep it a round number here, but you can see not really getting lucky here with the greens, but you know, that's okay. Like I said, it's not going to be like a meta breaking character. It's just going to be rounding out a war defense team, and I'm okay with using 10 silver promotion credits to bring her up to 3 red later on. So that's 8 right there. Not the end of the world, but let's go ahead and take a look at her kit overall. T4 recommendations, especially if you guys are planning on bringing her into your war defense team. So starting off here with her basic ability, Acrobatic Archer. She's essentially attacking the primary target for 60% piercing, and as you can see, she is going to have a charge mechanic here. So when she does have that charge mechanic, she's also going to gain an increase in crit chance, and with this attack, it cannot be blocked or dodged. Leveling up this ability, you can see here that her basic's actually going to be able to clear random positive effects from the enemies. It's also going to be actually able to chain attack to adjacent enemies and targeting them for that piercing damage, and on top of that, also, you know, clearing that random positive effect from the enemy. By leveling this up and T4ing ultimately to the level 7, you can see here she's actually going to apply taunt to each target. So really good for actually siphoning through and really breaking down defense. But again, I would not recommend T4ing this unless you're planning to use her on the war defense team. Otherwise, a level 6 here, being able to clear 2 positive random effects is good enough from the get-go. Next, we got her Trick Arrow special ability here, attacking the primary and adjacent targets for said damage. And as well, if she does not have the charge, she actually gains charge. So this is going to work hand in hand in combination with her basic attack. You can see here, she's also going to actually be able to flip the positive effects to a negative effect on the enemy. Leveling up this ability, it really depends if she has charge or not, right? If she doesn't, she's actually going to get the speed bar increase here. So that's really notable, and she's also going to gain the charge. Leveling this ability even more, we're going to be able to flip more positives. Level 6 is notable because we actually flip 3 positive effects to negatives. So you can really cripple an enemy when using this ability correctly. And lastly, with the T4, if she has charge and she actually does apply the offense up for 2 turns to both herself and the Young Avenger ally. So if you guys plan on bringing her on board and leveling up this team, this is a strong ability. And the best thing about this one is that you don't actually need to be using this one in war. So a strong T4 here, I would recommend it if you're planning to bring her up and invest in her and in the Young Avengers meta. Empty the Quiver Ultimate. So this is going to be one that's notable because we already said earlier in the preview that there's going to be a lot of opportunities here to actually flip the board with the enemies here. So if she's charged, she actually applies the blind to the enemy with the highest damage and as well negative conditions, which can include defense down, disruption, offense down, and slow. The piercing damage does increase over time here as you level this up, and on war defense only, there's actually going to be a speed up that applies to herself, and the Young Avenger ally. So obviously that's worth noting, especially in war. Level 6 is nice because you actually apply blind for 2 turns as opposed to the 1, and as well now it's going to be 2 negative effects for 2 turns to all enemies. Very, very strong already, well, even at T4. And the icing on the cake here is that if you plan to bring her in war, obviously she's gonna have the speed up bonus to everyone on the team, including herself, for 2 turns. So level 6 already does the job. To be honest, I don't know how much of an impact speed will make in especially in war, but that 50% piercing is gonna be notable. So this is definitely worth it if you're using her abilities in war. But level 6 is very, very strong already, especially with that blind and negative conditions. And last but not least, Stubborn Defiance is her passive ability here. You can see that whenever a Young Avenger dies or drops below that 50% health threshold, she's actually going to attack the random enemy for 80% piercing, also additionally applying blind and slow. So this is going to give your team a fighting chance, especially in building up your characters once again when they drop below that threshold. As well, she's also going to gain 2 evasions whenever she drops below 50%. So this is more of a defensive mechanism as well. Leveling this ability up, she's actually going to apply offense up to Young Avenger allies. They gain additional resistance, and more notable in war is that she's actually going to gain 5 charges at the spawn versus not having any at the beginning. You have to use a special to generate that, and with the passive here, T4, the offense up actually does apply for 2 turns for herself and all Young Avenger allies. And this one's notable because it doesn't actually necessarily need her to be competitive in war. This applies anytime you actually use them, so even in blitz, campaign notes, as well as raids, you know, that can be notable. But again, they're not really a raid team, so the only time you would really benefit from this is using the team as a whole, which in this case would be the war meta. So there you guys have it. T4 recommendations potentially, but if you guys plan on bringing her up, especially in a war team, definitely notable as it's going to round out the rest of the Young Avengers. So do appreciate you guys checking out my videos. Thank you as always. Good luck with your guys' rest of our orbs, and as always, I'll see you guys in the next one.